housing costs. The fifth asset surprises some people, especially because I said earlier your primary home isn't an investment. That's still true. But a paid-off home is one of the smartest financial positions you can carry into retirement, not because it grows, but because it dramatically reduces your largest expense. Housing is usually the biggest cost in retirement. If you're paying $2,000 a month in rent or mortgage, that's $24,000 a year. Over 20 years, it's close to $500,000. If you own your home outright, your housing cost falls to property taxes, insurance, and maintenance, maybe $6,000 to $8,000 a year instead of $24,000. That difference changes everything. It lowers the income you need to retire. It reduces stress in down markets. It creates flexibility for medical expenses or emergencies. So if you're approaching retirement with a mortgage, paying it off should be a serious priority. Not the car, not the kitchen remodel, not the vacation, the mortgage. Yes, the math sometimes says investing beats paying off a low-interest loan. But retirement is not purely a math equation. It's about security, peace of mind, knowing you have a place to live that cannot be taken away because your monthly payment became unmanageable. If you're younger, the strategy is straightforward. Buy less house than you can afford. Choose a shorter mortgage if possible, and pay it down aggressively. Aim to have it paid off by 60, earlier if you can, so you can spend the final years before retirement building the other assets without a mortgage draining your cash flow. If you're older and the mortgage is still large, you have to make a decision. Pay it down with urgency, work longer if necessary, or plan to downsize and eliminate the payment. What you can't do is retire with a large mortgage and hope it works out. Retiring with a big mortgage payment is one of the easiest ways to turn retirement into financial pressure from day one. Asset number 5 is a paid-off home, or at least very low housing costs, because it makes the entire retirement plan far easier to sustain. Recap: the 5 essential retirement assets. So let's summarize the framework. Dividend growth stocks, your primary income engine, growing over time. S&P 500 index fund, long-term growth and backup capital. Income real estate or REITs, stable cash flow that often rises with inflation. TIPS or I bonds, inflation protection and stability. Paid-off housing, lower expenses and higher flexibility. These 5 assets work together because they each protect you from a different risk: market crashes, inflation, longevity, and unexpected expenses. And once you understand that, the next question becomes obvious. How much should you have? The solution is straightforward, even if it's not always easy. Pay off the house first, then retire. If that means working a few extra years, those years often buy decades of peace of mind. Retirement is much easier when housing costs are low and predictable. If you're in your 20s or 30s, time is your greatest advantage. Use it. If you're in your 40s, you need to act decisively and consistently. If you're in your 50s and haven't started, the margin for error is thin. You'll need focus, discipline, and urgency. And if you're in your 60s without these assets in place, the reality is harsh. You may need to work longer or significantly adjust expectations. There's no shortcut that replaces decades of compounding. That's not pessimism, that's arithmetic. A practical roadmap by age. The strategy changes depending on where you are in life. If you're in your 30s, focus on building your index fund and starting your dividend portfolio. Time is doing most of the work for you at this stage. Real estate can come later. If you're in your 40s, Add income-producing real estate. Accelerate dividend investing. Start paying down the mortgage aggressively. Begin building inflation protection. If you're in mid-career, your advantage is earning power directed intentionally. If you're nearing retirement, your advantage is clarity. Act decisively. What you cannot afford is inaction. Retirement is not an event. It's a phase of life that arrives whether you are ready or not. And when it arrives, it doesn't care about intentions. It only reflects preparation. I've watched people assume Social Security would carry them. It didn't. I've watched people rely entirely on market growth. One downturn changed everything. I've watched people underestimate inflation. It quietly eroded their lifestyle year after year. And I've watched others, quietly, methodically, build these exact assets and retire without fear. Not wealthy beyond measure, not extravagant, but secure, independent, at peace. That's what these 5 assets provide.